right, hello, everybody. Everybody in the room right now, whatever room you're in, or online if you're in your living room or something right now. Really glad that you're with us. We just heard the song, Crowded Table, and I love how that song, I think, really captures, Brandy Carlisle, who wrote it, I don't think thought about this, but it really does capture God's heart for what church is, because church is not just it's not an institution. It's not just some organization. Church is family. That's the predominant image it's used by God to describe what we are. We're family. And there is a place for everybody. There is a place for you. There is a spot at the table with your name on it. There's a picture of you on the wall. And that's what we are. And so for those of you who are new, so glad that you are here. And for those of you who've been around a long time too. In fact, if you are new, we'll talk about new and long time. For those of you who are new, you've picked, I think, like one of the perfect weeks and series to show up at, because it's like reading the Cliff Notes instead of the book, because you just get a little head start on what makes Chase Oaks Chase Oaks. Like, what are we all about? That's what this series is about, how we roll. It's like, what is God calling us to increasingly be? This isn't just who we are, it's aspirational. It's who God wants us to continue to stretch to be more and more of. And sometimes it's hard when you're new in a church trying to figure out, what is this place? And do I want to be part or not? I hope you do, but this will help you make a decision. And for those of us who are a regular part of this place, it's like required reading. We do this series every year and a half or so to remind us of, oh yeah, that's who God is calling us to be, because it is easy for this to just leak out. And because all of these things that we're talking about are not normal, they're not natural, we won't just drift there. And so it's really important that we remind ourselves of that's who we are. That's who God's calling us to be. In addition to this series, there is a book, and it's free for you. So if you see that QR code right there, you can scan it, and it's a digital book. You can purchase a copy too. I don't know where or how. Honestly, I should know that if I'm going to get up here and say that, but you can get a free digital download book, How We Roll. It's on every one of our DNA statements. And I'm going to ask you to read it if you're a regular part of this place, because, like I said, all of these things will not naturally happen. These are not normal. They're not natural. They're not even comfortable. They're good, but we will not drift that direction. We will always drift away from it. The gravitational pull will take us away from it. That's why when you came in, you got a little rubber band. So go ahead and take that out. I mean, see, here today, we're giving out free books, free rubber bands. We're going crazy, So take your rubber band, and what I want you to do is find somebody around you. You need a rubber band buddy. And I'm sorry, I'll just apologize. Those of you who showed up at church by yourself and this is your first time, and you're thinking, I hope they don't make me do anything weird. Sorry, we don't do that very much. It'll probably be another decade or so. But bingo, you just came. So what I'm gonna so that means for the rest of us, just look around. You don't have to, the person you came with, maybe it shouldn't be your buddy. Like, look, if you're a regular part of this place, look for somebody else. And so go ahead and kind of look at somebody. And what I want you to do, find a buddy, is each of you are going to take one end of the rubber band, right? One person, one end, one person, the other, right? And what I want you to do is I want you to put some tension on it. Okay, go ahead and stretch it out a little bit. Okay, now stretch it out more. Okay, now a little bit more. A little bit more. If you're willing, a little bit more. We ready to? Okay, that's good. Now you can release the tension. That's not comfortable, isn't it? It's not normal, it's not comfortable. And what we're gonna see, especially today, all these DNA statements, but certainly this one, which is, it's not my party, is the DNA statement. It's not our party. That is not natural, because what we're talking about is, because if we just go like this, what's natural is comfortable. It's not our party, what we're talking about is not comfortable. It's not our party is talking about how God calls us as individuals to live an externally focused, not an internally focused life. A life not built around ourselves. We will all naturally do that. In fact, that's just sin nature, is self-interest. is to say, I don't want to make my life about me. I want to make it about others. I want to live bigger than that. But that's a stretch. And when we gather together as church, a church will never drift. We're called as a church. The mission gave birth to the church, an external mission. But a church will never drift toward external focus, ever. It will always drift to what's comfortable, which is to make it about us and the people who pay the bills, an internally focused church. And what God calls a church to be is to be a church that doesn't just think about us, but those who aren't here yet, even more so. I'm going to give out my preferences to reach people who aren't here yet, and to spend the energy of the church, not inward, but outward, to make the community better. Realizing that there's a community of need of people who are crying out to God for help, wonder if there's a God who listens, and we get to be the answer to that question. We're called with a mission, but it is not natural to live this way. When religious people get together, and I don't mean, I'm not picking on other people, I mean me, like we'll just naturally make it about us. And that's what you see happening when Jesus comes in the New Testament, in the books about his life, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. You see all those stories that the people he had tension with, that he had, that were going like this with, that they didn't get along, was not irreligious people, but religious people, the good people. I mean, and they were good people. They went to the temple, they went to the synagogue. I mean, today you'd say they go to church all the time. They're trying to be great people. But that's the people he had struggled with, and he struggled with them. And a huge reason was right here, is they did what we do naturally. The Pharisees and religious leaders had set up everything to be about those who were already there, the insiders, and not those outside. And they missed God's heart. So like you see that, one of the this will be quick, but one of the ways we see that is in Luke 15, where the Pharisees, the religious leaders, are really upset with Jesus because he's hanging around with all the wrong people, and he's doing his teaching and allowing all the wrong people to come in. Here's what it says. Tax collectors and other notorious sinners. Now, we're all sinners, okay? But in their minds, that was somebody else. Tax collectors and other notorious sinners often came to listen to Jesus teach, often. This made the Pharisees and teachers of religious law complain that he was associating with such sinful people, even eating with them. I've shared before, one of my friends, I love the way he says it. He says that Jesus loved people or liked people who were nothing like Jesus, and they liked him back, and he liked them back. I mean, they was just, he related in a way that to us, it's like, oh, that's cool. But to religious people, it's like, man, how can you do this? It should be about us. And so Jesus tells a few stories about lost things. So the first story he tells right after this is a story about a shepherd who loses a sheep. Now, the shepherd has 100 sheep, and he loses one. Anybody good at math? How many do you have left? 99. Geniuses. Friday night really struggled. Okay, 99. And you think, well, I've got 99. Who cares, right? I just lost one. No, a good shepherd is going to do whatever he can to find that lost sheep. And the story is he comes back. His shepherd buddies have been looking. They find it. And he throws a party. And then Jesus gives the punchline to the Pharisees. He says, in the same way, there is more joy in heaven over one lost sinner who repents and returns to God than over 99 others who are righteous and haven't strayed away. Jesus saying, hey, it's great when religious people gather together. I mean, that's cool, but that's not what makes heaven throw a party, because God's heart is for those who aren't here yet. Or then he gives another story, a story about a lost coin, something really, really valuable that a lady loses, and it's a very valuable, very expensive coin, and she can't think about anything else until she finds it. She turns her house upside down, gets people to help. They finally find it, and she too throws a party when she finds it, and Jesus gives the punchline. In the same way, there is joy in the presence of God's angels, talking about heaven, when even one sinner repents. When somebody who doesn't know God realizes God loves them and wants to know them, and that's when heaven throws a party. Now, we can understand the urgency of God for that. If you've ever lost anything valuable, I mean, if you ever lost anything really, really valuable, it's all you can think about. I mean, I lose things all the time. Just part of my personality. That's why this is my wallet. It's a kid's wallet. It's a children's wallet. That's neon green, if you're listening to this. And in fact, I went to check in not too long ago, and the lady, when I pulled this out to get my ID. She's like, oh, I just bought one of those for my son. He's 8. I was like, okay. But I love it because I don't lose it, right? I hate losing my wallet. It's all you can think about. I've lost kids before. I mean, that's not good, right? You don't just say, oh, well, it's fun to make babies, I'll get another one. No, you look for the kid until you find him, right? And that's the heart of God. And then Jesus tells a third story that's about a lost kid, the prodigal son. I don't have time to tell it because it's not our key passage today. But Google it, read it. He has 2 sons. One stays, does everything right. The other one leaves, young adult, goes away, goes crazy, sinful, all that, and then comes back. And the father isn't mad, isn't angry. He loves his son. He's just so excited that his son has returned, and he throws a party, and he forgives his son, restores his son, throws this huge party. And the older brother, the one who did everything right, the insider, won't even show up at the party because it should be about him in his mind, not about prodigals. And the father goes and says, come on, you got to come. I want you, but he won't come because he doesn't understand the heart of the Father. And that's what Jesus was trying to help us religious people understand. The heart of the Father, not just for us, but for those who have yet to come. And how easy it is to miss the party. We think we're part of the party, to build religious environments that are more like Pharisee parties and actually end up having nothing to do with what Jesus came to do. And it will just happen. We won't even know it's happening if we don't stretch and live out that perspective individually, as families, as well as a church. And so I want us to dig deeper into that. And so today, here's our statement. It's not our party. That we are never more like Jesus than when we give up our preferences for the sake of others. That's what he did. We design every part of Chase Oaks to be not only relevant to us, but also compelling and engaging to those who have yet to come. That we're not just thinking about us, we're thinking about those who aren't here yet in everything we do. It's not our party. Now, that phrase, it's not our party, comes from another parable that Jesus told about parties. And I want us to dive deep into it. Now, I love this story about parties because it happens while Jesus is at a party. Now, last series we did was on the disciples. Remember different disciples? We started with Matthew, who was a notorious sinner, the phrase that we just saw. He was a tax collector, not a good guy. Jesus invites him to be a disciple. He invites all his sinner friends to this party. And what you see, and I made the observation then, is that we see Jesus a lot, actually, at sinner parties. And he never ruins a sinner party. Now, sinful things would have been happening. He doesn't sin. I'm not saying that. But he never ruined a sinner party. But we also see him at religious parties. And this is interesting to me because he ruins 100% of those. He did. He never ruined a good sinner party. You think he would, but he didn't. He ruined 100% of the Pharisee religious people parties he ruins. And this is one of them. In fact, and we're going to see how it happened. And it gets started with he's there and all these impressive religious people who look like they're perfect and trying to, have this facade. And they're all coming to the party. And around the table is a dinner party. And they're trying to get at the best seat of the table. And Jesus takes the worst place at the table. It's a very status-conscious culture. And it says a couple things. But one of the things he says is, hey, you know what? Next time you guys throw a party, if you really want to honor God with, if you want a party that God would be excited about, instead of inviting each other, a bunch of religious big shots, why don't you invite all the people that never get invited to parties like this? The poor, the crippled, the blind, the lame, the sinner. God would love that. That would be a party. This, not so much. And then he tells this story. It's in Luke 14. A certain man was preparing a great banquet and invited many guests. At the time of the banquet, he sent his servant to tell those who'd been invited, come, for everything is now ready. Now, to catch us up in their culture, they would have known it like this. In that culture, this is a certain kind of party. In fact, in Greek is the original language of the New Testament. The word mega for great banquet or great party, mega party. We use like mega mall or, the Meg about that mediocre movie about the shark thing, the big shark. We mega everything. Well, this is that's the word. This is not just a party, it's a mega party. In fact, they would know exactly what it is because in Roman culture, it was a patronage culture. And what that meant is if you were wealthy, part of your social responsibility, if you were really wealthy, was to throw these huge, expensive parties, and you would invite, it was their way of doing networking. They didn't have LinkedIn and that kind of thing. So they would invite all their big shot friends, and then you would also invite up-and-comers, people who needed those networking opportunities to grow their career, grow their whatever. And so deals would be done there, networking would be done there. It was but they were really expensive things. And they would go on for not just an evening like our parties, they would sometimes go on for several days. So it was a lot to prepare. So it was a double RSVP system where they would send out the invitation and you would say, hey, on this day, this is when the party starts. Are you in? And you'd say either yes or no. And if you're in, then on that day, when everything was ready, they would send their servants out to go get everybody to say, okay, now it's time. Now, it would have been considered unthinkable, socially unthinkable, to say yes to the initial invitation, and then when the servant comes to get you, to say, nah, sorry, I've changed my mind. Like Martha Stewart would send out her police, and get, you'd be in trouble. And that just didn't happen, but that's what happens here. They all alike began to make excuses when the servant came to get them. The first said, well, I've just bought a field and I must go and see it. Please excuse me. It's just a lame excuse, right? You could see that anytime. Another said, well, I've just bought 5 yoke of oxen and I'm on my way to try them out. Please excuse me. It's like, I just bought a new tractor. I want to ride it. And then still another said, I just got married, so I can't come. Now, I love that one because in the original language of the New Testament, I just mentioned is Greek. It's translated, I just got married, which isn't bad. But I'm going to give you just the most literal translation because I just think it's funny. And here it is. He says, I cannot come. I married a woman. I don't know why that's funny, but I think it's just funny. I don't care who you are. I'm not trying to be offensive to women. It's like, well, I married a woman, and the servant's like, oh, well, yeah, okay, I get it. Married a woman. I have no idea what that means, but that's literally what it says. And then, so he comes back, and nobody's coming to the party that was invited. And the servant came back and reported this to his master. And then the owner of the house became angry, as he should. He's prepared all this, nobody's coming, and ordered his servant, well, then go out quickly before things spoil. Go out quickly into the streets and alleys of the town and bring in the poor, the crippled, the blind, the lame. They were also considered sinners in their twisted theology. That's why they were crippled, poor, blind, lame. That's not true. That was just their twisted theology. Bring them in. Now, I love what happens next because they know the heart of this guy. And it says, sir, the servant said, what you've ordered has already been done. But there's still room. I mean, we knew you'd say that. We've already done that, but there's still room. And then the master told his servant, well, then go out to the roads and country lanes, go out further and compel them to come in. Why compel them? Because they think they're not really invited. They would never be invited to my house. They would never be invited to a place like this. You're gonna have to compel them to come in so that my house will be full. I tell you, let me stop there. So that my house will be full. Keep inviting until my house is full. Invite, if the people originally that were supposed to come aren't gonna come, then invite everybody else, all the people that never get invited to parties like this, the poor, the crippled, the blind and lame, and compel them to come in. That'll be a party. And then Jesus says the line that's pointed at the Pharisees, at the religious people. He says this, I tell you, not one of those who were invited, who were expected to be there, the insiders, will get a taste of my banquet. Now, they knew what that meant. Jesus was claimed to be the Messiah, the promised one, the messianic banquet, the kingdom of God, all that God was bringing through Jesus. Like, what he's saying is, hey, you guys who are the insiders and you think you're right at the heart of things, you're actually going to miss the whole thing. Not because you're not invited, you are, but because you refuse to come. Because this is a party not just for you, but for all the wrong people. And by the way, we're all the wrong people. We're all sinners. We're all in the same boat. They just didn't get it. And it is possible. In fact, it is natural. It will automatically happen if we're not careful. When we build something like a church, or when we operate as people, if you're a religious person, wherever you're at on your journey. I mean, I think this is true even if you don't know Jesus and you're, or certainly for those of us who do, that we will make life about us. We will make church about us, and it will feel great. But the truth is, Jesus will look at it and say, yeah, this isn't it. Because this does not reflect the heart of the Father. This is a party with a mission. This is a party with a Father who's looking for those who are lost. And would you be willing to stretch to be different so that you don't miss the party, but you're actually part of a really great party that thrills the heart of God? So what are the implications for us? Well, the first one is this, that this is not your party or mine. It's the Father's party. And his concern is not just for us, but for those who aren't here yet. In fact, that's what he's most concerned about, because people who don't know him don't know that he came to connect with people. He wants to connect. And therefore, it's not just, hey, let's all gather together as people who are in. Our job is to understand the heart of God for those who aren't here yet. And that's not a normal way to do church, unfortunately. I think it should be, but it's what God calls us to do. So what does that mean? Well, it means that just one of the unique things we're trying to do, and we're always stretching. We're not do it as well as we should, and hopefully we'll get better and better. But our job as a church, and one of the things that makes us us, is to remember, hey, it's not our party. It's not about those who are already here. It's about those who've yet to come. And would we be willing to always stretch our preferences for the sake of a changing culture and not get comfortable? So it means we think about that in every environment that we have, our children's environments, youth environments, men's, women's, small groups, and certainly the environment we're in right now, a worship service. We think, how can we do this, not just for us, but for those who have yet to be here? So that when we invite our friends to come and sit with us, or people just happen to come in, they realize, oh, this isn't just an insider thing, this is a place for me, to remove every unnecessary disconnect and to build every connection possible. So, for example, our architecture. We architected our buildings with that in mind, not just church people, but that's why it doesn't look churchy or feel churchy. It's why we have a coffee shop down the thing that doesn't say Chase Oaks Church Coffee. It'd be okay to do that. It's just, that's a barrier. Who wants that? And so local good, hey, we share that in common. We want to change our world together, local good. And most people don't, it takes a while for them to understand it's connected because it's on purpose way at the end of our campus because we want to connect. Just to think about that. It's why when we do things like I'm doing now, teaching, I always think of, I don't just think of those who have been Christians for a long time, but many people in this room don't know Jesus, which is awesome. What a better place, right? So when I'm always thinking of not just people who've been around a long time that convinced, but those who are skeptical and unconvinced, everybody along the journey. And can you do both at the same time? Speak to those who are unconvinced as well as those who've been Christian a long time? Yeah, that's what Jesus did. It's what the New Testament tells us to do. The dichotomy that some people have, and when they say, well, you got to choose. You're either going to focus on Christians and go deep, or you're going to focus on non-Christians and be shallow. That's just stupid. That's a bad dichotomy. It's not true. All of us can apply God's word wherever we're at on the journey deeper in our life. Another one of the things we say, let me put it this way. This is Texas. I think I can do this. Take a risk. When I prepare messages, I think of both insiders and outsiders, those who know Jesus, those who don't. I call it double-barrel preaching. And if I was in the Northeast, I couldn't say that. If I was up in the Northwest, it'd be like, I'm out of here. But this is Texas, right? So I'm thinking both. And of course you can do both. Again, that's the way Jesus did it. It's possible. So we're thinking about both when we do the teaching. It's why we also look for every opportunity we can to connect, just with common ground stuff. It's why we do something like At the Movies, which in fact 2 weeks is At the Movies Christmas version. And so invite people. It's not just for us. It'll be fun, but invite people. And because again, that's a commonality. And we don't water down the truth. We don't change the content of our teaching. Nobody wants that. Ain't nobody got time for that. People want to know the truth. If we just want to remove every unnecessary disconnect. If they hear the truth, be like, yeah, I don't want that. Okay, at least you know what it is that you're rejecting. But I don't want it to, I at least want to give you the opportunity to understand what it is. Same way when we do music. I know that we're going to use the musical style of our culture, the musical language of our culture. When we even worship music, we also, as a church, we just did a Brandy Carlisle song, right? We're going to use normal music too, not just Christian subculture music, which it's a point of connection. It's certainly helpful for me as a communicator or whoever, any of our team, as a communicator to get into a topic, but it's commonality that's there. And so we're always going to be stretching and looking. In fact, we're making some changes now because culture is changing. We're in the process of, it's just tweaking. It won't maybe feel that different, but making our services less concerty and more, I don't know what to call it, an experience, a little bit more of an authentic experience, because people who don't know God just want to know God, want to connect. It's some cool things happening in our culture. So I'm not sure you'll see that much, except things like lighting. We probably got a little crazy on the concerty thing. And with a good heart, but you don't have to wear sunglasses to church anymore. Maybe that's one way to think about it. Okay, we got crazy, but with a good heart, right? Just trying to live this out. And so that's another thing, right? I could keep going, but I think you get the idea. It's just thinking of how we do church in a way that's not just about us, but those who have yet to come. And the next implication is, okay, that's great. That's our heartbeat, but how's it going to happen? Well, it's you and me. It says you and I are the guests, are not the guests at the party, but the servants. Our role is to prepare the party and invite the guests. That once you're part of Chase Oaks, once you're in, you're not actually a guest anymore. You're a servant in the story who gets to prepare the party and invite the guests. So let's talk about that. Now, when I say when you're in here at Chase Oaks, there's a lot of new people in our church, and you think, well, what do you got to do to be a member? And and every once in a while, I say this from the stage because, for those who are new, haven't heard it before. So if you are new at our church and you're wondering, what does it take? What do I got to do to be a member? For us, nothing, except just want to be. Like, we have no bar of entry. There's no 5 things to commit to or 20 things to do, or you got to go to this or you got to do this. I'm not saying that's bad or churches shouldn't do it. I'm sure they're awesome. We don't do that. And the reason we don't is we just want people to be able to connect the way we come to God. We come to Jesus as we are. Come as you are. It's not, here's all the things you got to do. It's just come as you are. Now, he's going to not leave us as we are. He's going to encourage us to take steps. And as a church, we've got all kinds of steps to take in our journey with God. But to be in, you don't even have to believe here to be a member here. Because we think this is the best place to figure out, do I want to believe? Like, it's not like go get your life together, figure it out, and then come, and then you can be. It's just, there's no bar of entry, okay? So if you want to be in wherever you are on the journey, then that's it. You're in. And occasionally I do this. I'll do it now. If it makes you feel better, I'll make it official. You ready? You're in. Let's welcome all our new members. And we really are glad that you're here. But that said, it comes with responsibility, membership. And that is, you're no longer a guest. It means you're a servant. It means God invites you, wherever you're at in your spiritual journey, to be part of making the party happen. And part of that is through serving. And many of you serve in different ways. And many of you haven't taken that step yet. I encourage you to, as we look at a new year. There's Serving Kids Co., or in youth ministry, or in these adult gatherings like this, or small groups, or serving in the community and outreach and all that. But life will be way better if you do. Light an externally focused life. Begin to serve. And for those who do serve or are interested, that thing that was mentioned earlier at your campus, January 24th, please show up. And if you're online, fly in. If you're from out of town, if you can't fly in, we'll figure out a way to stream it. It's just important to gather together as people who are the party hosts to say, hey, yeah, what are we doing? What are we doing this year? Get some inspiration as well as some equipping. And so I hope you'll show up to that. And then the other part is inviting the guests. Most people won't come unless they're invited. Some people will. Some of you have. I mean, I am so impressed. When somebody comes to our church, like by themselves, and they're on some kind of spiritual, to come into a church, especially if you're not church, and to come into that building and to come sit in that thing, it's like, wow, you're impressive. I hope you realize, oh man, yeah, this isn't so bad. I do feel comfortable. I sure hope you do. Let me know if you don't. But that's hard to do. But most people need to be invited. And a few weeks ago, April Farmer was speaking in the Disciple series about Andrew the Inviter, and she mentioned a new statistic that 80% of non-church people said, if somebody you knew invited you to church, would you go? So 80% of non-church Americans said, yeah, I'd go. 80%. It's crazy. That's like higher than we've seen. And I don't know what exactly is going on with that, but it's really cool. And I think it should make us bolder to at least ask the question, hey, come sit with me. Don't just say, hey, figure it out, go to church, hopefully it works. Just come sit with me is a better way to say it, an invitation, and do it. And so Christmas is the perfect time to do that. Christmas at the movies, great time. But our Christmas services as well, the 24th or 23rd and 24th, people are looking to go to church that time of year more than any other time of year. So please be praying about that and thinking about who you're going to invite. You just never know what's on the other side of invitation. Somebody invited you at some point. I'm so glad somebody invited me years ago to a youth group, and I said yes. And that's why I'm here today. I had no idea you just never know what's on the other side of an invitation. So I want you to get your rubber band out, okay? I'm just gonna have us think, would you be willing to stretch as an individual first, to stretch to say, God, I wanna share your heart. I wanna live I don't wanna live a self-focused life. I wanna live an externally focused life. I wanna live a life about me. I wanna make my world better. God, how do you want me to serve? How do you want me to make the world better? And God, relationally too, I don't wanna just be comfortable. Help me stretch to build relationships with people and connect and invite. And as a church, would we be willing to stretch to say, let's do church differently? It may not be comfortable. Everybody might not like it who are religious, but that's okay. Because this isn't a religious people party. This is the Father's party. It's God's party. And it's not just for us, but even more for those who aren't here yet. Would we be willing to always stretch? And even if it means stretching our preferences, and sometimes we have to remind each other, hey, remember, it's not our party. It may be to this, to that, to this, or not this enough, or whatever. I get it, but remember, it's not our party. It's God's party. It's not just about us, those who yet to come. And I don't think there's a better opportunity right now in my lifetime for this to happen, because people in our culture are hungry for what only God can bring. They may not realize that, but that's just reality. We're so disconnected as a culture from God, from each other. In fact, I saw that this summer. Christy and I were on study break. We were up in the mountains where I do study break in July. And we went to an outdoor concert. It was a Journey tribute band. Now, Christy and I went to high school together in the 1980s. So that's like sweet spot for us. Some of you are like, who's Journey? I know, but, and it's great. Jesus loved Journey, so might as well look into it. But we went to this Journey tribute band, and they were really good. But and the lead singer did not look like Steve Perry, but he did sound like him. But you know how some people, and God loves them, and I do too, and I think they're great. But some people are just extra sweaty people. They just sweat. And this guy was one of those. And other people on the stage were sweating a little, but this guy was like, I was just sitting there thinking, man, how much does he drink? And is he gonna disappear if he doesn't drink something? Because he was just really sweaty. Okay, now that'll come into the story in a minute. And so he's doing his thing. And then about halfway through the concert, he says, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna have the band just play music behind me. And I'm gonna leave the stage, come down to the crowd, and anybody who needs a hug, I want to hug you. And I'm thinking, dude, you're sweating. Nobody's going to do that. I know I'm not, but I don't think. And so he comes down the stage, and you know what happened? Shocking to me. People were swarming him, wanting a hug. And he just, this goes on for a long, and he's just kind of walking through the crowd. All these people are hugging, and then he turns my direction. I'm sitting like right there. And I start to pray. I'm like, oh God, please turn this guy around. I am not gonna hug this guy. It's gonna be awkward. I'm just saying no. I'm not gonna do it. But, and God answered prayer. He does that. He turned the guy around. He came to the front of the stage. Now, my wife, Christy, we were there with some non-church friends. The wife wanted to be on the front of the stage so she could dance more. Christy likes to dance. So Christy was joined. So she was like at the front of the stage. And so the guy turned to the front of the stage. And while I'm still thanking God for redirecting the guy, I look down and guess who's hugging the sweaty guy? My wife, Christy. And I'm thinking, oh man, I hope she takes a shower. But secondly, I'm thinking, if you know Christy, she did not hug the guy because she needed a hug. She hugged the guy because she thought this guy must need a hug. It's just the way she's wired. And so she's hugging, and then he keeps, this goes on for like 10 or 12 minutes. And I'm sitting there thinking, really? And then he comes back up onto the stage and he says, okay, I didn't get to hug everybody that needed a hug. So after the concert, I'm gonna be right over there in the back of the room. Anybody who needs, and I'm thinking, yeah, good luck on that. And there's like 50 or 60 people in line. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us we live in a culture that is lonely, is disconnected, is fragmented, fractured. And what people don't realize is that there is a party, and they're invited. And everything down deep in their soul that they're created to experience, that they're not experiencing, is possible because God came here to make that possible because he wants to know them. To find connection with other people, to find connection with God, to be in a party like this, it's exactly what we're created to experience. And you and I know about it. We get to create it, and it's up to us to do the inviting. Like this song, they don't realize it, but at God's table, there's a little place card with their name, and there's a space for them, and it's just they're empty, and God is praying, or not praying, but God is hoping that somebody like you and me would do what he's called us to do and let them know about it. And so with that in mind, I want us to pray. And I'm gonna start, I like to have us just talk to God ourselves rather than me just talk to God on your behalf. So I want you to talk to God in prayer. And for some of you, you may be like, yeah, I don't know if I'm a believer. I'm not a believer, but maybe I want to be, or I don't know Jesus. I don't know what you'd have to do, because I think it's pretty easy to assume that it's a religious thing. It's about us trying to be good enough for God and doing all the right stuff. That's what religion is. It's what we do to earn God's favor or some spiritual status. That's not Christianity. Jesus did not come to establish a religion. He came to destroy religion. He came to make it possible for us to know God without us trying to do all this stuff. He did it. He did it. Dying on the cross for our sin and so that we could be forgiven, and all that just is irrelevant, goes away. Relationship is about his grace. It's just about relationship based on his grace, not some religion based on our works. And you just say, yes. God, I want to know you. I want you to come into my life and begin to change me. I want to take new steps in life. I want to grow. I want to be used by you to change the world. I want to have a relationship with you. That's what it means to begin a relationship with God. It's come as you are, like we said. There's nothing you have to do other than just say, yeah, I'm in. And now begin to walk with you and take steps with you. And for those of us who maybe have at some point done that, it's an opportunity, or even if we haven't yet, to say, God, would you help me stretch to not just live a self-focused life, a comfortable life. God, help me stretch to understand your heart for people who aren't here in a world of need as well. God, would you help me stretch so I could join you in what you're doing? And to help create the party. Father, thank you for the fact that you came here, that you sent Jesus here, that we celebrate at Christmas to make it possible for us to know you. And once found, God, would you give us the same passion for those who have yet to be? In Jesus' name, amen.